Right, long overdue. I'm back with the gorgeous Sherri Divband. And you know, we had a chat, I don't know, what was it, probably 6 weeks ago now or something now, quite seems ages ago. How are you doing, Sherri?
I'm doing well. I'm just a little overwhelmed. I have a lot going on, trying to relocate to Florida and selling our house and buying another house. It's been a whirlwind of events, not to mention just everything else going on, getting the Aramis Center classes up and running. I have an exciting announcement if I can share that, share something about that as well. But yeah, I've just been super busy, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's a bit like me. I mean, I had a holiday, went off and spoke at an event, came back. We're having renovations done here at the house, which is very long overdue. It's the full moon. It's, you know,
Yes.
you name it, it's everything going on. So it's busy, 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 but all in a good way. But I think lots of shifts happening for everyone. And today we were going to have a bit of a chat of things which are coming up about helping people look at some ways for themselves and their animals to de-stress, about how to maintain healthy boundaries, and also about maintaining an authentic vibration. And we can come on to discuss that. But before we get into the nitty gritty of that, tell us your announcement.
Well, we we are expanding out for Aramis Creative Learning Center to your time zone. So we're going to do the London, UK time zone classes for the children. So now we have Australian time zone. We have the American time zone. Now we're going to start offering classes in the European time zone. So we're hiring for teachers right now, and hopefully by August we'll start offering a whole new variety of classes with new teachers and in another time zone. So we're really excited about that.
That's so exciting. Now, how can people get involved in that? And if they're interested in either applying to be part of this as one of your sort of educators, or for their children?
Yeah, well, so the website's aramiscreativelearningcenter.com. That's where you'll find the classes. And the email to apply for positions is aramiscreativelearningcareers@gmail.com. In case I got that incorrect, we'll put it in the description below.
Yeah, you send me it all on
Yeah,
WhatsApp
yeah.
afterwards, and I will put that all in the link below, everyone, so that whether you're interested in helping out as one of the people helping to provide this amazing new service, or if it's something of interest that you want your children to participate in, please do get in contact with Sherri. So yeah, so lots going on. There's so much. I think everyone, I'm really feeling everyone needs that at the moment, because there seems to be a time of change at the moment. We have got the full moon, you know, some people that affects more than others, but we've also got this stage where a lot of people are sort of feeling that they're at a bit of a junction in their lives, where they've spent the last couple of years finding out really in a lot more depth about what they don't want to continue, and now they're thinking, right, what next, what can I do next, where do I want to go with my life, am I going to wait for some of these things that I think might be coming, am I just going to leap, where do I start? And that is leading to a lot of tension and stress for people, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I think we're in a period of uncertainty, and that's really disconcerting for a lot of people. And they're asking for tips and things that they can do to de-stress, to rebalance and realign themselves. And so we thought, Catherine and I thought it'd be a great subject today to talk about that, and then bring in the animals, because the animals are having anxiety. I mean, animals get anxiety too. They get stressed out, and they also feed off of our energy. So we wanted to bring some tips for our beautiful animal family members. And you know, there's a lot of different tips out there, and I think, you know, probably nothing we're going to say today is something that is revolutionary, but perhaps something that people haven't thought of or before, or haven't tried yet. And so we thought that that would be a great way to start today.
I'm so happy we're doing this, because as you say, you've hit the nail on the head. Everything we probably talk about today will just be reminders to you of things that you already know. And also, it's really wonderful because we always get people sharing some really good ideas in the comments below as well. And that's
Yeah.
really, really helpful for people, because there's a big difference between talking about all these lovely tools and techniques and products and things that can help you, but the time for talking's over, and now it's the time for doing. So let's start sharing some of our things that really work for us. You go first. What do you find is brilliant for obviously yourself, for children?
Well, for excuse me, for de-stressing, my number one is, Mother Earth is talking to us, and she's trying to encourage us to utilize her energetic vibrational field. That's why we incarnate on Earth, is to connect to this planet, to the energy here. And it's quite healing. And over generations and generations, thousands and thousands of years, the powers that were did everything they could to disconnect us from this Earth, because it is so powerful. And it turned it into something like of a woo-woo topic. People who are tree huggers are weird, or people who do any of this sort of stuff that's really nature oriented are off their rocker, whatever you want to call it. And that's just not the case. And I think we're moving back to that. And I think that's why the animals are talking to us. The animal kingdom came to me when I was a young girl. I've been talking to animals, and they have the most brilliant knowledge to share with us. But again, the powers that were, created such a divide between the animal, us and the animal kingdom in a hierarchy or in a pyramid, where we're up here and they're down here. And that's absolutely not the case. And I think we're moving towards oneness, where we're all sharing this planet. We all have equal rights and equal opportunities, and we need to stop going from ego. And so going back to nature, and not even just that, because a lot of people say, okay, Sherri, well, I went on a walk, I didn't really notice anything. But you have to take it one step further, because we are high vibrational beings. We are energetic. We do integrate with the electromagnetic field resonance of the planet. Our intention is also important, and people forget, okay, what's my intention? You have to set an intention. So if my intention is, ask Mother Earth, ask the Earth, say, when I go out on my walk today, please please provide for me your beautiful energetic field of resonance that will nourish and balance me. What is it of my highest good? Because sometimes we don't really know what we need. And so we might have this overwhelming feeling to gravitate towards this one particular tree, or this one particular flower, or we might all of a sudden have a certain type of animal appear in the garden, like a certain type of bird. Those are all signs that you need that energy around you. And we need to be more aware and mindful of it. So our intention should be, when we go out, to ask the universe, ask the animals, the plants, the trees, the water, the rocks, wherever you live, whatever's near you, to bring that energy towards you. You ask for it with gratitude, and you'll find it. And you open your mind. And when you're walking, you don't think about, okay, well, I'm on my walk, but later today I have to go grocery shopping, pick up the kids. You can't do that. It has to be a moment of relaxation and peace and serenity for yourself, where you allow yourself that 15 minutes or 20 minutes or however long you have, sit in pure oneness with yourself and the universe, right? And that's really hard and challenging for people to do, because they're so used to getting down the list of tasks that they need to do, because we are in this sympathetic mode, fight or flight, adrenaline fatigued world. That's our reality. At least it has been. And the universe and the earth are trying to pull us out of that, and that is my number one. But I'm curious to see what you think about that, or what you want to add.
Oh, this is why I love talking to you so much, Sherri, because we've just got such similar outlook on things. Now, I'm going to stand up and flash. People know I love my t-shirts. We've got a lovely friend, Liz, who does t-shirts. Her link's below. This is from another company in the UK, and it says, I'm only going to say what I want to put out into the universe. So I'm a big fan of wearing clothes that remind me, that make life easy for me and give me little reminders. And what I loved about that is you've hit something really, really important to me, because we all do talk about getting out in nature, but it's the intent that you go with. So what really, really works brilliantly for me is, one, I'm so lucky I have created a life where I'm surrounded by animals. Indy's outside, Lola's fast asleep there, just gorgeous. Now, but what I do when I go out for my walk, I start by saying, and it's so funny because quite often I say it out loud, and then you walk around the corner and there's all these people there looking at you like you're a nutter, which is really funny. But I start by saying what I'm grateful for, and you can do that in your head, you can do it out loud, whatever feels comfortable for you. So I'm a big fan of my barefoot shoes. So I'm grateful that I can feel the ground beneath my feet. I'm grateful that we've had rain and the plants are growing. I'm grateful that I'm out in nature and I've got fresh air to breathe. I'm grateful for every animal that I see. I'm grateful for some of the wonderful plants that I see. You know, I'm a herbalist, so I love looking at all the different plants and everything that I encounter, and you know how much they're giving back by their lovely medicinal properties. And what I do is I make sure I sort of have a conversation with nature in the same way as I would do with a human, because it's really important that there's this reciprocal agreement that, you know, they give so much, nature gives so much to us, but when you're feeling you're giving that gratitude back to them, it really makes me feel better about myself. So that's one way. When I go out in nature, I am very intentional about it, and I'm quite lucky because if I've got either Lola down here or one of my ponies, Romeo, if I slip into a bad habit, like get my phone out, I'll get a nudge or a very clear message, no, put it away. So that's really good. And my next favorite is literally getting barefoot, even in the cold, even in the winter, even in the rain, even if you're going to have muddy feet. You know, we've all seen what a toddler does when they get out. You know, it's always amazes me, you know, sort of being my age now, I'm like, oh, I don't want to get cold, I don't want to get wet, whatever. Toddlers don't care, do they? If they get wet, they don't care if it's freezing cold. They see a puddle, they're in it, splashing, having fun, watching everything. So getting barefoot on some form of nature is so important, and it's almost instantaneous, I feel, because then you're really connecting in with even more of your senses. You can feel the sensation and you can really feel that grounding into the earth. So those are my top two.
Yeah. And you know, you don't have to go up and hug the tree like they make it a joke. And I mean, you can, and they're wonderful. But you know, the trees, just like we talked about with horses, the electromagnetic frequency or field that a horse gives off from their heart center is massive. I mean, it can affect 15, 20 children that are nearby within like a couple, like maybe 100 yards. A tree does something very similar. It gives off, and remember, everything is connected. That's what nature wants to remind us. You know, everybody, not everybody, a lot of people are programmed to believe that Sherri is Sherri, Catherine is Catherine, and if we're not related, or she's on the other side of the world, that we're not connected. And that's just not the truth. If you look under the surface of the soil, all the trees connect and all of their roots intertwine with each other. Everything is connected. If it's raining over here and not over here, and this plant is suffering and needs water, it will pull water from over here. I mean, it is the most beautifully designed, intricate system, just like our bodies are beautifully designed, intricate, highly intelligent systems. And we don't give ourselves credit, and we don't give nature credit. And we need to combine the two together in a beautiful what's the word I'm trying to think, symmetry. And yeah, right. But the trees, they have so much wisdom. They know so many things. You know, they have so much knowledge. Imagine how much a tree that's been sitting somewhere for hundreds of years, what they've seen, what they could tell you. What could they tell you? It's incredible. And you know, just like toddlers, to bring it back to animals, because you and I will always find a way to bring every conversation back to animals because they're just incredible. Our pets and nature, doesn't matter if they're in your home or outside, they have so much wisdom to share, and they have so many lessons that they could teach us. One of which is to get outside of our head, to enjoy life, be like a toddler and not care if you're getting wet and go run in the rain and stomp around and get wet. You know, be outside. I went to a drive-through safari in Florida a couple of weeks ago, and I brought the kids to see where they're going to be living. And it was a beautifully, really nice, actually done drive-through. So the animals are completely free. And you have to stay in your car and you drive through. And we had of course, Florida, there's a huge thunderstorm that came out of nowhere. And it was like crazy rain sideways. I mean, we had to stop the car. We couldn't even see the windshield wipers. It didn't go fast enough. And I'm looking and I'm observing these animals, and they're in their element. You know, they're not like, oh, run for shelter like this, you know, they're one with the earth. It's raining, great, it cooled, you know, to them it's like, oh, I feel great, it cooled me off, I feel, you know, and then afterwards they shake themselves off and they go about their business. they're encouraging us to stop being so serious. And
Yeah.
right now, that's a good thing. That, and going back to your first question to me, what are things that people can do? Stop being so serious. Stop taking everything so at face value, because I will tell you, it'll burst a lot of people's bubbles. This is a fake illusionary world with a lot of lies and a lot of smoke and mirrors. And you shouldn't take everything at face value. That's why what the Ascension is about. We are being encouraged as individual people and souls connected to these bodies, these avatars, to have discernment. This is huge right now, and go within. But the earth and the animals are here to help us do that. That's who we should turn to, not a guru, not a priest, not that person, not this celebrity. It's, I'm going to talk to this tree over here because this tree is going to tell me more than anybody on this planet could. Or I'm going to talk to this horse or this bird that's out in nature, that's free. Imagine what these birds see when they migrate all over the planet.
Exactly.
And that's where it's at.
No,
Yeah.
it's so important. And there's a few really important things there I want to come back to. One of the things about having more fun and taking things less seriously, I think that also links in. I think a lot at the moment, a lot of people's throat chakras are sort of being activated in different ways. And one of the things I think that indicates to me is it's so important for people to concentrate on their lives and their truths. And yes, we love having discussions. We love listening and reading and watching things to sort of learn and challenge our ways of looking at things. But at the end of the day, all that's really important is what you think. And it's funny how there's so many distractions. So picking up a recent example, there's lots of talk at the moment because a lot of us are all friends with each other. And we have quite a small circle of people that speak to each other, talking about some of the things we do. And there's a lot of focus on who's not speaking to who now and who's supposedly fallen out with who. And it fascinates me because why does it matter to anyone else? The thing is, all of us have the choice and we don't need to explain ourselves to other people, because I think when people are noticing that and noticing and spending so much time on other people's relationships, it's a mirror up to themselves that there's something they need to be looking at their own. And what I'm seeing is a lot of people, it's much easier to focus on someone else's problems or someone else's issues than to look and say, what am I missing and how can I nurture myself? And I think the important thing at the moment is for people to really start playing about and experimenting with what does really feed you, what does give you joy. And just like it says on my t-shirt, when you're gossiping about other people, you're never going to feel good about yourself. Never. Unfortunately, that is a vibration that when you put it out is only going to come back. So what I would say, my next top tip would be to be a little bit, we might call it selfish, but really focus on yourself and what makes you happy and what sort of person do you want to be and presenting to the world. And when you have that, it doesn't mean you beat yourself up when you get something wrong or say something you shouldn't or do something. It's not about that at all. It's rewarding your little steps of trying. And, we learn by trial and error. So what behaviors are really making you show up to be the person that you want to be and you feel good about yourself?
Gosh, it's so true. It's so true. And you know what? That step is really hard for a lot of people because people don't want to admit that they're wrong. They don't want to admit that they need to make a change. That famous quote, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, the first step is realizing that you're part of that change, and people don't want to be part of the change. They don't want to admit that they need to change. People are so stuck in the cement of their reality that they refuse. They're like, oh, that's not me. Everybody wants to put blame on somebody else, but it's a really humbling experience to admit that perhaps you've been part of the problem. And that's not a bad thing. I've admitted, and I can, in hindsight, look back and say, gosh, I did that, or I did that, and that's okay. And we have to forgive ourselves. We have to be forgiving for ourselves, but other people. And then that's how you grow. That's what evolution is about, right? You don't make the same mistakes, you learn from them. And that's where we are right now. But we have to admit that we're a work in progress. And people don't want to talk about it. And that's the biggest. When I work with clients, which I've been doing for decades, I always ask them, are you ready for change? Like, are you ready to make improvements on yourself? Because like you said, people it's a drama-ridden society. No fault of us, they did that to us. They programmed us with all the movies and the TV. Everything is like nail biting. Oh, what's going to happen next? And it's easier to focus on, oh, what's she going to do? What is he going to do next? And why are they fighting? And it's like people are losing sight of the purpose of what's happening right now. The fake reality that we've been experiencing. We got to be careful with our words. Over the last few years. Like, people have had an excuse. Okay, sit down, watch these podcasts, learn. But I feel like, okay, people, it's been like 2.5 years. Like, it's time to get up off the couch, go out of your house. I mean, I still have clients that say all they do all day is watch videos, one after another. And that's wonderful to educate yourself, but don't get so complacent at, okay, what's he gonna say? And you have to watch that person a couple times a day. What the next thing? Like, you can't live without, oh, what are they gonna say next? Or this particular podcast, or what's she gonna say? That's why I don't do that many videos, because honestly, I don't have anything to contribute. I'm not gonna put myself on camera just to talk to people, just to get, people are so focused on how many followers they have and how much money they're making. Like, I don't care about those things. Like, if I don't have anything to say, I'm not gonna waste my time or your time or anyone's time. And we talked about that. Catherine and I were like, okay, what are we going to talk about in this video today? And is it going to be uplifting, or is it going to help people in some way? And if not, then maybe we don't do it. And that's what everybody should do right now, is what self-reflection, what can I improve on myself, and then take action items. My another tip that I like to give as a grounding example is creative writing. People have gone away from that, and I want to focus on with the children on this as well. In some of the courses that we're going to be offering is creative writing. We always have these templates. A good example of that is coloring. Children get these coloring books and they color within the lines. Yeah, it's great, but what are they creating? Are they actually using their creative mind to come up with something from nothing? That's true creativity. And so for creative writing, this is a good way for adults, elderly, children, all walks of life. It doesn't cost a penny. You just need a pen and paper, and you sit down and write what do you want? What comes out? It could be a story. It could be a reflection of your life. It could be anything. Creative writing doesn't necessarily mean it's a fantasy story that you're writing, like, oh, I don't want to write that. No, it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything that your higher self, open and say, what does my higher self want to tell me today for my highest good? And you just see what comes, and you're open to it, and you don't dissect it. You don't take it apart and analyze it and say, oh, that's not right, or or second guess it. We're so used to being in the left brain. And people are probably tired of me saying that, because I say it all the time, but that's truly where we have been programmed to be. Think, analyze. And that takes us away from our intuitive abilities, because when you're tapping in and trusting your intuitive knowing, you cannot analyze it. It's a different part of the brain. And people are so used to thinking, and 2 + 2 has to equal 4. Well, actually it doesn't. In the reality of where we're moving, I hate to break it to people, but 2 + 2 can equal 1, 5, 10, whatever we want it to be. It doesn't have to be so rigid. And that's what the whole theme of just relax and stop taking everything so serious. Focus inward and say, and maybe you write down in your creative writing, these are some of the things that I love. Start with that. What do you love about yourself? Because we've also gone away from, what do we love? And I have this thing a couple times a week, especially when my 2 youngest children, they're close in age, they just fight all the time. The older one is 17. He's not really involved with them that much, but and I stop them immediately and I say, okay, Skylar, tell me 3 things that you love about Aramis. And then they say, no, I don't love her. They get all mad and they don't want to talk about it. I'm like, no, Skylar, give me 3 things that you love about your sister. Tell me anything about her. It doesn't have to have anything to do with you. And then he starts, and they'll say one thing, regretfully, because they don't want to admit that something positive about them, but it gets them going. Okay. And then I'd say, Aramis, tell me 3 things you love about Skylar. Sometimes if they have trouble getting going, I'm like, okay, tell me 3 things you love about Dad, about Jordan. And it gets them going. But the idea is we need to do that with ourselves. What are 3 things that I love about myself? Because everybody watching this, I guarantee you, if I tell you, write down 10 things you don't like about yourself, they're going to do it in, I got 20, 25 here. And I say, okay, tell me what you love about yourself. And they have to sit and think about it. That's not right. And I'm not saying that I haven't had that and I haven't struggled. I am in the process of self-love as well, because I too could say, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And then I'm like, whoa, okay. So part of this process of going inward is, okay, what do I love about myself? What am I grateful that I can do? What are my superpowers? What am I capable of? And then we write the list of, okay, what can I improve on? We don't need to say what I don't like. What can I improve on? Because everything moving forward is how you look at it is important. The words that you use are important, which is why we stop using a lot of words. Like I don't use teacher. I try not to use teacher anymore with Aramis Creative Learning Center. It's not a school, it's a center. We don't have teachers, we have mentors. Like we need to start changing the way we think and the way we speak, because words have power just like anything else. So yeah, I think I went off.
Yeah, no, it's so important. And it's one of the good things and the bad things about seeing yourself on video, which is really, really uncomfortable, or listening to you back, is the fact that what I've learned so much is it's made me much more aware of the words that I am putting out there, because so many of them we don't even realize. How many times if someone said, you said this, you're like, no, I haven't said that. And if you watch it back, you're like, oh, I didn't even know I said that. It came out automatically. And I think, this also leads into the boundaries. Is the most important person that you've got to have boundaries with is yourself. So one of the other tips that I think that can massively shift people's lives so quickly is to take a really honest look at what you're spending your time doing, because everyone will say they're so busy, but even busy itself has a negative connotation to it to a lot of people. So, my day is so full. Well, what is your day full of? And having a look at that. So a lot of people are used to doing food diaries and noting what they're eating and drinking if they want to change something about their health. But what is your day full of? Who are you interacting with? What are you interacting with? What are you putting in your body? What are you listening to? Because if you're feeling low or off center or confused or not quite knowing what to do or think about something, it's normally because your day is too full of external influences and you haven't allowed enough time to feel what you're feeling. So that can be really useful, because anyone who's got a mobile phone, a lot of them now will say screen time on it. And it can be shocking, so shocking for people. They're used to checking the screen time of their children, but what about how much time are you spending listening to something or looking at something in comparison to how much time are you allowing to not have all that external influence, so you can really tune in with yourself?
Yeah, the screen time is a big one. If you go out, if you go out to a restaurant, nobody talks anymore at the tables. Everyone has their phone and they're looking down. There's no conversation happening anymore, ever, anywhere. Even at the pool. I was just surprised how many moms were sitting, and dads were sitting on the side of the pool on their phone while their children were swimming. I'm like, who's watching your child? The lifeguard? Like, I trust the lifeguards, but like, it's my child, it's my responsibility. Like it blows my mind, so the phones, I think, were another psyop, another thing that was inserted in our reality to keep us distracted. If we're looking down, we're not looking up. Why don't they want us to look up? And that's a powerful question. So I love that. One of the things that I wanted to recommend, if we pivot to pets again, real quick, to help them, because people don't realize that our pets take on our energy willingly, on purpose. Like they actually willingly will, when you walk into a room and they notice that their mom, dad, whatever, their family member is in a low vibration, They will do subtle things that you don't even realize to bring you back up, and they can shift your energy. Even just, cats will do that thing where they walk in figure eight around your legs, or they need, we call it knead the dough, but they do the kneading on the belly. Dogs will put their paw on you, or they'll lay, I have a 90-pound Doberman, and if I sit on the couch, like he'll sit on my chest, and I'm like I can't breathe, but they don't think that. They're like, oh, I love you so much. They absorb a lot of our energy for us. And then because they're much more easily able to transmute it into a higher vibration. It goes in and out. It goes because they have chakras just like we do. The issue is that they get dis-ease because they take on too much. That's what happens with them. They take on too much. Oh, mom is so sad every single day. And at one point, their little bodies or big bodies, whatever they have, even a horse or an elephant, they can't take it anymore. It's too much. And then they become unbalanced and misaligned. And they too have anxiety because they worry about us. And animals are in tune with the frequency of the planet. So when the Schumann resonance shifts, or the neighbors and everybody in the neighborhood are all up in arms about whatever's going on in that has nothing to do with them, they feel that, they know that, but they don't understand necessarily all the time what is going on and why, but they feel it and then they react to it. So they have so our animals right now are going through a lot, and we need to just be mindful of it. They may be agitated, more agitated than usual, more restless. They may be more clingy to their owners, and their owners are like, oh, you're so annoying. Maybe you should give them a little pat and say thank you. Because we're so wrapped up in ourself. Again, we're so humanity can be so egocentric. Again, by design, I believe that we're not mindful of everyone else around us. And our poor pets need us to give them thanks. Thank you. So what can I do for you? Maybe think about them for a few hours a day and what their needs are. And one thing I can recommend is nourishing water that doesn't cost anything, where you put nice, good water, whatever good water you have in your area, that's, fluoride free and all of that, chemical free. And you put a clean, like a polished rose quartz or black tourmaline, and you put it in a gallon. And then you put it outside in the moonlight and charge it up. And then you give your pets that water a couple times a week. There are certain things that we can do to lift our pets and balance them. And I wondered what, I have a million tips, but I wanted to give that one today, but I wanted to see, since you work with a lot of animals, like what are some of your tips to help people de-stress their animals?
Well, that's great. And it's so important. The first and foremost is be conscious what you're putting in and on them. So a massive stress to animals is if they don't feel imbalanced physically. So if you're feeding them a processed food and they've got no opportunity to go off and hunt for themselves, that causes a lot of physical and emotional stress to them. So really doing your work and your education, it's so rewarding, because I cannot tell you what seems like something so simple. So feeding a dog like a dog should be fed, feeding a cat like a cat should be fed, a guinea pig. So food is so important, and so is exercise, species appropriate, age appropriate exercise. So for example, the first thing we do in the morning is do all our animals, and that involves taking our dogs for an hour and a half walk out in nature, let them ground themselves. Are you letting your dog play like a dog? Are they confined to a city environment? If so, how are they being allowed to ground, etc.? So for any animal, it doesn't matter what species it is, when you take away choice from them, it's stressful. So if your husband cooked for you every single day, initially you'd think, well, that's lovely. But if he then never asked you what you wanted to eat and when you were going to eat, it would soon become irritating. And the same for our animals. So what I would say is have fun looking, and this is one of the main things I do with people that makes such a difference, is how can you introduce choice to allow your animal to communicate with you? I'm not talking about telepathically, just behaviorally. What do they need? It's very obvious what a dog's favorite walk is. It's very obvious who they like to play with. It's very obvious if they haven't had enough exercise. Are you feeding them the same thing every day? Would you like to be fed the same thing every day? You know, are you giving them access to clean water? Are they shut in a home where you're using lots of chemicals they can't escape from? I mean, we know as humans how stressful it is if we look up to the sky and we see loads of chemtrails. Do our animals have the chance to get into a clean environment? Or if not, are you doing stuff? So I would say food, exercise and choice. And it doesn't matter what environment you live in, you can always be creative to introduce more choice into their lives.
Yeah, you know, I have a quick story I could share, not a story, an example I can share with nutrition. I'm big on nutrition as well. Again, we have a Doberman, and you know, they're known to have cardiac issues, and also like these idiopathic head tremors where they just have these head shakes for no reason. It looks like a seizure, but only in the head. And our dog started showing that at about, I don't know, 10 months old, out of nowhere in the kitchen. Nothing was happening. He just started shaking, and we were like, oh my God, you know. And at the time we were experimenting with different types of food, and, you know, not really, it was great food, but we hadn't chosen a diet yet, because we were trying out different things. Anyways, after we had him checked, and he started progressing. So he went from once in a while to like 3-4 times a week. And it was like really stressful, because we're like, oh my God, this has to be really awful for them. And a lot of people are like, oh, it bothers you more than them. And I'm like, are you them? How do you know it doesn't bother them? Can you imagine shaking your head for like a minute? How awful that would be, and not knowing why. Sporadically, there was no triggers that we could tell. Sometimes it was stress, but other times, like, we were just sitting on the couch and it would happen. And I went through this whole rehaul of his diet. And Catherine, within days of this new diet that we put him on, this regimen, he's just had his 2nd birthday, and like, none, like, knock on wood, but like maybe once in a blue moon. But it was immediate, and his skin was beautiful, because he started having the kind of allergies and bumpy skin just from that. I mean, he eats better than we do, honestly. It's like he has like filet mignon every night, not literally, but that's how much it costs. But, you know, we have to invest in our animals if we can. And I'm not saying to everybody watching this that you can't even feed your family. How can I feed my animal? Like, I'm not saying that, but it does showcase how important nutrition is for the animals as well, because he is so much more healthy.
It's absolutely vital. And the thing is it's always cheaper to make your own. If you're buying anything that's ready made for you, whether it's for yourself or for your animals, you're paying for the packaging, you're paying for the labor, the processing, the chemicals that are added to preserve it, etc. So, you know, there's always ways you can make improvements regardless of what your budget is. There really is. And with a little bit of education, I've got some courses you'll see in the link below on cat and dog nutrition. And you know, the results are just unbelievable, because if you're buying something that's ready made, you have no idea what's in it. You've just got no idea what's in it. And that's fair enough, making a choice for yourself, but your animal is completely dependent on you. And we've all seen over the last couple of years how uncomfortable it is when people that we don't trust are making decisions that we don't feel are in our best interest. Well, that's what most of our animals feel most of the time, because there's a difference between loving means educating yourself to actually give the animal the life that the animal needs to the best of your ability. And it's constantly a work in progress. Like, we need to be gentle with ourselves, where we're always going to be a work in progress. It's not going to be a single human on the planet that says, fantastic, I've got there. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. No. But similarly with what we do, whether it's with how we look after our children, how we look after our animals, it's never going to be perfect. You know, we're all going to make mistakes, but the whole point is you learn from them, and when you know better, you do better. And it's so joyous, and your animals reward you so much for it. And the other thing is everything that we've talked about that's improving your animal's life, quality of life, health, emotional well-being, is all going to directly have the same benefit on every other human in the family. So it's a win-win situation all round. And what I do love is a lot of people are really prepared to put the work in and just sort of say, wow, this is just so beneficial to all of us, these skills I'm learning. And then they just tell their friends, and then that's how it goes. You know, you don't all have to be experts in everything. You know, one person's very good at this skill, one person's very good at that, and you share that knowledge.
Yeah, that's where we're going, right? Like that's what this is all about, is sharing. Sharing is caring, you know, share the wealth, share the knowledge. You know, I teach a lot of courses, and virtual and in person. I've always been a teacher in some regard. And I always tell people, you know, I'm not better than you because I'm teaching this right now. I just happen to know a little bit more about the subject that you don't, but I can guarantee you that you have something you can teach me that I don't know. Because I always try to, I never want to put myself on a hierarchy or a pedestal, because that makes me uncomfortable. And so everybody has something to contribute. You just have to figure out what your strength is. And some people know exactly what that is. Some people have multiple things and that they can do. Great, awesome. And some people are trying to figure that out right now. And that's where that inward reflection it comes into play, because that's what we're trying to figure out. What are you good at when you're given the opportunity to try? When you're not working 70 hours a week in a job you hate, if you took that away and you had the ability to try some things, you might be surprised what you find, what you're good at that you didn't know. I think you know, the reality that we're going into is that's why I like to use the word intuitive. I know that's probably overused, but people don't understand or understand the abundance in that word and what it truly means. It can go in a million different directions. You know, I think as we're getting to a point, or we're headed in a direction where we are going to have intuitive based living, which encompasses everything. I mean, what we eat. We need to recognize that our bodies are also ever changing with frequency and time of year and all sorts of factors, that we need to be intuitively connected to our nutrition by recognizing how we feel after we eat something. How does our body react? Does it nourish us? Does it give us energy? Does it make us tired? And that can change. So just because you might have figured it out today doesn't mean a month or 2 months from now, your body may tell you, okay, I need something else. Just like you said with the animals. It's not always just about being bored, but it's what does the body need right now? When you see animals foraging in the forest or wherever they are, you don't see them go to the same plant every single time.
Exactly.
You know, it's like they know what they need. And it's like that with everything. When the children are in my centers, what do you want to learn about right now? What do you feel? What's your desire? What's your passion? What do you want to learn about? Isn't that more fun than making them learn? Okay, math from 9 to 10 and social studies from 10 to 11 and then like their whole day. It's like, no, like everything needs to be intuitively designed where we have the ability to enjoy our life in a way that reflects our inner knowing and our wisdom and our passion. That's where we're headed. And it's going to be, it's very challenging, I think, for a lot of people to get there. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it is. It's very challenging, but it's so exciting. And I think the fact that we're having conversations like this, the fact that your learning centres are expanding now into Europe and the UK, it just shows how much of a shift there is. I mean, the clients that I'm working with over the last couple of years, there's not been a single one that hasn't been absolutely incredible. They're open, they're willing, they're really, you know, just ready to take the next step for themselves and their animals. And so I see so much hope in it all. And I think coming back to what you said right at the start, about this desire to have fun and take it less seriously and be more flexible. Funny enough, patience and flexibility has come up in every single sort of chat or interview that I've done this week. And it's such an important message. And if you don't know what calms you down, try these different things and see what works, but try and listen to what works for you. You know, what works for Sherri and I might not work for you, but one of them will. I absolutely promise you that one of them will. And what works for you today, you might need something different tomorrow. But have fun in the process, explore, and then really share. And the final thing I wanted to say is this thing about being authentic with your word. Just an example. So one of my neighbours, I saw them using a really nasty weed killer. and I'm immediately in their garden and on all the neighbours' drive and everything. And we live in the middle of the countryside, and most people don't luckily use chemicals around here, but there's a few that do. And my cat's always in their garden. And I was just thinking, oh my God, this is so dangerous for my cat and also for them. So I just went up to my neighbour and said, are you open to having a bit of a chat about your week? And he was like, yeah, fine. What? And when I did it, I could have so easily assumed that he was doing something deliberately detrimental. He had no idea. His mum and dad had always used that, so he carried on using it. So when I said, I asked, are you open to have the conversation? And if so, is now convenient? I didn't just go and tell him. And I've learned that the hard way, everyone, because I used to just go and tell people and it wasn't convenient and they didn't want to hear it. And so that was really obtrusive of me to do that. But he was, and he genuinely wanted to know. So instead of me getting angry and feeling like this, we had a really amazing conversation, and it linked in. And he then started telling me about quite a few of the health issues that he was linked, which was a lot of them all linked to killing off the microbiome, which of course these chemicals would do. So instead of there being any confirmation, he was like, thank goodness you told me. I literally had no idea. And was other members of the family like, oh, you can't say anything, it's none of your business. But one, it is my business, because I really like this neighbour. He's absolutely adorable. He'll do anything for anyone. So I don't want them to come to any harm. And secondly, my cats are in and out of his garden all the time. But he was really, really grateful for that conversation. So if you know something, whatever it is, don't be afraid to ask someone if they'd like you to share it. Because you could be making a big difference to someone's life, because they might not know about these different opportunities or something that they need to know, that you've got that knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that's huge right now. And sharing the wisdom. And well, what's the worst that guy could have told you? F off. Okay, well, at least you tried. Like, put yourself out there, and you never know how you can change someone's life just by giving them a suggestion like that. And that could change. And how many people is he going to tell? Oh, my neighbor told me about this amazing alternative to killing weeds. Did you know about that? No. Well, tell me more. That's where we're at right now. So, well, I know that you don't have a lot of time, Catherine. So maybe let's see. I wanted to one last thing. My last thing for today is let me just turn my. Sorry, my air conditioner is so loud. Boundaries. We really need to work on boundaries right now. And I tell my friends, family, clients all the time, and my children, because they're learning it young. Sorry, don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Whoever told us that we needed to do that? So don't carry the burden of your neighbors or your parents or anybody that's not making the choice that you feel is right. Because remember, everyone's on their own journey, their own speed, and they're learning in their own way, and we can't judge them. And so it's about creating boundaries and releasing the burden of making sure everybody does what you tell them that they need to do. We have to stop that. We have to stop carrying that on our shoulders, that, oh my God, my mom and dad did this, and this could happen. Well, if it hasn't happened yet, you send them love and you wish them the best, and you have to take that burden away, because otherwise you're never going to get out of that energy. You're going to keep yourself in there, and then the pattern repeats itself. So we have to release the burden of awakening everybody that we know. It's not our job. It is our job to plant seeds, to give information when people are open to it and receptive, and perhaps be on these platforms, because people are going to watch this that want to watch this, and people who don't are not. And that's okay. And I encourage people to please release the burden of things that you can't change, and focus on yourself and spreading your light. Because also people don't realize the impact that individually what our light does for others, and collectively, as the more of us just expand our light and illuminate, and everyone else around us does the same, or not everyone, but many. And the next thing you know, we're just this light, this planet just brightens up. And then that will inadvertently, or whatever the right word I'm trying to think of, that will spill over to those people, and you may be able to affect them in a more of a passive way as opposed to an active way. and think about that as an alternative to getting in people's faces and judging people, because we're just as bad as them if we're going to start judging and saying they're not as good as us, or they're not awake, so something's wrong with them. It's all about how we act moving forward. We need to be mindful of our words, our actions, our thoughts, everything. We need to reevaluate everything that we're doing moving forward. And that takes a lot of patience and a lot of forgiveness. And it's one day at a time. I'm always like, you know what? I can't think about next week. Just let me worry about today. And that's it. And that helps me a lot, because I'm very stressed. I get stressed. I have a lot on my plate. I dropped the ball. I even dropped the ball today with Catherine on the time, like, and then I could have kicked myself all day, but we moved past it. I was like, oh, my bad. Got the time wrong, but we're moving on, and a lot of people just hold on to that, the guilt, the shame, the worry. And
so important. And I think if that's the one message people take away, is when you release that bound, when you look at your boundaries to say we are only and can only ever be responsible for ourselves. Yes, when we're parents, of course, there are things we have to do to look after our children, but we can't live their lives for them. We can't control every decision that they take, and nor should we. And I think for me, it's been so freeing to release myself from the obligation, which was an obligation I put on myself. No one put it on me at all. And I can look back on it now and I can just laugh and just think, wow, how many stresses did I put on myself? They were completely my choice, which I didn't realize they were my choice at the time. So it is, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit there and think, I wish I'd done this 10 years ago. I just think, oh, that's good. Now I can go and sit there and read my book without feeling guilty about it. I think when you do things that lift you up, and you can do that while still being, a responsible citizen, still being a great member of the family, but everyone around you, importantly, your animals, feel a big sigh of relief. I mean, my dog are so happy here. They've got the door open. They can choose to stay. They can choose to go. It's up to them. And it's wonderful. It really is. So I think be gentle on yourself, have fun. Let go of things, anything that you think you have to do, and let's see if we can reframe it. And please let us know what works for you, because I am so still a work in progress with this, but I'm really enjoying it, Sherri. That's the difference now. I'm really enjoying, and when I pick myself up on things, I can really laugh at it now, because I was just like, oh my gosh, it's me. It's only me. I've got, I did this to myself, so yeah. I can choose to change it then. That's all we need to do. Oh, I've noticed it now, so now I can change it.
Yeah. Laughter is honestly, it truly is the best medicine. When you can get to a point where you laugh at yourself instead of really kicking yourself, you've made some progress, because that I laugh at myself. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. Oh my gosh. But if I can laugh, then it lightens it up. It truly will lighten everything up for you. So I love that. That's a good one.
Yeah, thank you so much for today. I enjoyed speaking to you so much. I'm really, really excited that you're now being able to offer that to people this side of the pond as well. So I will be sharing all Sherri's links below, how to contact her for anything you need. And everyone watching this, thank you so much for anyone that's chosen to watch it. We really do appreciate you, and we love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Sherri. Have a wonderful day. And next time, there'll be even more news, I think.
I think so. We'll do it again soon. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Lots of love. Bye.